What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT Network. I'm your host, Douglas Creevy, aka Big Ol' Set of Stitties, alongside with my co-host Cameron Parker, Gage Madrid, and Glenn Hauser. And you guys know what to do. Head on over to YouTube to the MHRT Network. Hit that like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit that join button. There's 3 different tiers, and all the options are on there. Also, make sure you head over to Broncos Syndicate, hosted by Gage Madrid, and do the same thing. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, and then hit that join button. I believe he said he's got 2 levels, and it gives you all the options and perks right on there. Normally, we start this off with asking how you guys are doing, but I kind of know the answer. So I'm pretty certain that the majority of this show is going to cover probably 2 things. So I'm going to start out with the big one, and that's going to be the interception heard around the world. Right? So yeah. I have something that I would like to say about it, and then you guys can get into it, and we'll just kind of talk for probably an hour because, good Lord, that's what everybody's going to talk about. If you look at the rule book of a catch, that was an interception. He did not – you have to control the ball through the ground, and if you don't, it is not a catch. It is not possession. If you have a problem with how the refs called that play, you have a problem with the definition and the wording of the rule, not with the referee's decision. Then you sit here and you say, oh, well, look at the Bears in the Rams game and Devontae Adams, they called that one different. That means that they called it wrong in that game, not in the Bills and the Broncos game.
Yep.
That is my first rant. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, first things first, like if they don't understand that rule, that probably means to me they don't know how to read. That's probably what it means to me, because they don't know how to read. Because by layer of the law, it was an interception. He didn't have control of it. The ball was clearly moving. And you also know it's sad when Joe Burrow comes out of a hiatus, a quarterback comes out of a hiatus and actually calls it that it was an interception. So very clearly, they don't know ball. They don't understand what the process of a catch is. That also means that if they don't know what a process of a catch means, that means that the ball that happened with Des Bryant, the ball that happened in a few other cases where catches probably could have been a Megatron, probably would be the better case, maybe where it probably could have been a catch. That wasn't a catch. And by layer of the law, the process happened where he did not have the ball in his hands. And by the time he had the ball in his hands, it wasn't. It was in Jaquan McMillan's hands. And at that point, the rest was history. And I think the part for me that is just very irritating is Bills fans, and really any fan, are picking and choosing what camera angles they want to use specifically to fit their own narrative when they can't use the other one, the main one, which like localizes it to the point where you can clearly see the ball in the possession of Cooks for the brief period, and then it transfers over to Jaquan. And I know Glenn noticed another angle in watching the NFL Films one, which was that thing is in slow motion, and you can just tell clear as day that thing was very clearly an interception.
Yeah, and I think that the part that gets lost in the sauce here is that play shouldn't have counted anyway because there was holding in the end zone, which should have ended the game. So the fact that we're sitting here discussing this is ridiculous, and the Bills fans that are utilizing screenshots to prove their point when very clearly the video disputes their point, it's ridiculous. It's a loser's mentality, and they need to grow up. That's all I got to say.
You know, to put some context on what Cam was saying about Joe Burrow, he hadn't tweeted in 2 years, and this is what brought him back in.
Yeah.
And to add to the part about the NFL Films, watch Cook's reaction after the ball is taken from him.
Yep.
Oh,
he is like this. On the ground, he did not even make an argument. It was dejection. He knew that it had been stolen from him and it was going to be an interception. And to Gage's point, had that safety been called, we would have been away from this complaint, the 2 pass interference complaints, one of which would have been a 15-yard penalty on Bosa if that, some 2-yard difference, right? The other one looked like the Heimlich maneuver in a full sprint. I mean, come on now. Would I have been disappointed myself if the shoe were on the other foot? Absolutely. But I do appreciate Bills Mafia for their loyalty to this team. I think they do deserve a Super Bowl at some point. However, they also complained, if you remember, about overtime, and that's how they ended up where both teams had the opportunity to have a possession at overtime because they felt slighted that Mahomes beat them on that. So listen, it is what it is. But if they had called that holding play, we would have our starting quarterback come Sunday.
Well, and I understand focusing in on that play, right? Because that is a huge play, changed everything. That's how the game won. But if you wanted to win the game, don't commit 5 turnovers, right? Like, that's a big part of why you didn't win the game.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Well,
right?
And that leads to another area of this, which is it's both true. And for maybe for a certain extent, if they did not want to fire Sean McDermott, it's real. It's really the point of Josh Allen.
The hell is it Broncos Kingdom?
I've heard of Bronco. I've heard of Bronco Land, which was something Kliss created, and then obviously
Broncos Nation
or
Broncos Country.
Yeah. And then now Broncos Kingdom. But I will say, like, there's one part that's true, and when if there was probably a game that if they didn't want to fire, I guess, Sean McDermott, sure, because like when you look at it, Josh Allen was the reason they were in that game. That is true. Josh Allen was also the reason they lost the game. So I mean, like, it was just a very weird game overall from Josh. Because it was like, yeah, you understand why he's superhuman and he's the real Superman, not Cam Newton. Cam Newton is Bizarro Superman, and Josh Allen is the real Superman. And so, like, you clearly saw how good he was in that game, but you also saw plays where it's like, this is not typical of him, missing throws, carrying the ball like it's a loaf of bread, and having turnovers. I mean, it's just a very, at times, uncharacteristic Josh Allen performance.
True. Well, and like you look at Twitter, and we've been a victim of the same thing. Oh, the NFL has a conspiracy. They're against the Bills. Are you kidding me? You think that the NFL wanted Bo Nix to be in the AFC Championship over Josh Allen? Stop it. That is stupid.
Yeah. I think part of the reason McDermott got canned was that deciding to, with no timeouts and 40 seconds left or 50 seconds left in the first half, that he decided not to kneel down. And what did he think Josh Allen was going to do? If he was definitely going to, if he couldn't, there was nothing to throw, he was going to run. And the fact that Benito even was able to spin him around and knock the ball backwards was just shows how smart he is as a player. It was brilliant. But McDermott, I mean, what a disastrous choice to not just get to halftime, especially after that touchdown right before.
Same crap that the Titans did week 1, and that was a heavy contributor in Brian Callahan getting fired. And we said this in the green room before the show started. This wasn't just this year that got Sean McDermott fired. It was an accumulation of all the years and all of the playoff failures, from losing at home to Kansas City, getting blown out at home by Cincinnati, losing on the road to Kansas City multiple years, including last year where they had the lead and should have won the game. So this is a collective effort of several failed seasons that led to Sean McDermott getting fired.
When Douglas, did you fire Bronco Bill after you saying it's over on the Broncos won? Yeah, I did. He decided
Bill cursed us
he decided
by
not to jump
Jarrett
through the table,
Stidham.
so he's out.
Yeah, for anybody that does not know, this is all Bronco Bill's fault because at the very beginning of the year, and even up to the point of like week 4, even week 5, he had been clamoring for Jarrett Stidham to be starter. So this is entirely all his fault.
It really is. All right, so this is the other thing that I want to cover, and then we'll just kind of go over everything that's going on because there's a lot. So he says, Michael Q3M7K, whatever. And it's much worse than Nick's. Nick Foles 2.0 incoming. It's Stiddy. Now listen, obviously everybody knows that Bo Nix fractured a bone in his ankle, had surgery today. He's gonna be out. If anybody says, "Hey, get a kitty," don't do it.
No, get more kitties. Get all the kitties.
I'd rather have a dog.
We have 4.
I got 3.
Cat lady over there. The Bo Nix obviously gets hurt, has surgery, he's gonna be out the rest of the season. So Jarrett Stidham is gonna get the start in the AFC Championship. And I kind of texted poorly.
Yeah.
When I texted you guys in the group chat, the way that I look at Stidham, right? Like, we don't really know what we're gonna get with Jarrett Stidham. Like, we've seen him play a couple games. We know that Sean Payton made it a point to bring in Jarrett Stidham when he first got here and keep him here. And one of the things that Sean Payton is really good at is having a good backup quarterback. So we can't sit here and say, oh, the season is done, we're definitely going to lose because Stidham is starting. I actually think that the offense is going to be a little bit more consistent. Like, we've seen Bo Nix play, right? We know his talent. We know how good he is and how good he can be. But there has been a lot of times in the season where big play and then 4 3-and-outs and then a couple big plays and then 3 3-and-outs. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I'm not sitting here saying that Jarrett Stidham is better than Bo Nix. I'm not saying that. But you also have to look at the different scenarios that have happened in the NFL, right? Like, and I'm not comparing Jarrett Stidham to any of these guys, just the situation. You didn't know what you had with Patrick Mahomes when he sat behind Alex Smith, right? Until he got in there and played. You didn't know what you had in Tom Brady behind Drew Bledsoe because he hadn't played, right? Like, there's all these different scenarios where a backup comes in and plays really, really well. Nick Foles with the Eagles filled in for Carson Wentz. They won a Super Bowl. It's not like this is unprecedented.
No,
we just don't know. And the same thing, like us not knowing means that the Patriots don't know either. They don't know what they're going to get instead of.
Right.
But you know what, Mike? You know who does know is Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And last year, who was the first free agent that he signed last year? It was Jarrett Stidham to a big contract. So this guy, Peyton believes in him. And, you know, Josh McDaniels believes in him as well. Patriots drafted him. He was behind Brady. People are like, well, he didn't end up playing for New England. Yeah, because there was a guy named Tom Brady in front of him. And when McDaniels ends up getting the job with the Raiders, who does he trade for? Jarrett Stidham. Even though they had Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Stidham ended up playing a couple games for them. And this guy is solid. You know, I don't know how many people realize, like, I live in New England. The bullshit that is happening so far already this week, with the impression that this is going to be an absolute bloodbath. The Broncos are going to just, it's going to be a walkover. We don't stand a chance, is so infuriating.
Yep.
You know, they played a team. I had been so against the Patriots for many years just because of the fans. And then they struggled a little bit. They weren't, humbled a little bit. And I was kind of feeling pretty good about the team this year. You know, it's because fun story. Mike Vrabel's back. Drake May is extremely likable. He's a great quarterback. Now I'm just like off. Okay, the fans are just back to where they were. They're totally obnoxious. And I've never wanted to win, including the Super Bowls, more than this win this weekend.
Yeah, and it's just it's crazy. I mean, the first thing I will say specific to Jarrett Stidham and this game up top is probably the number one point of why I think the Broncos have a legitimate chance. if the roles were reversed and Jarrett Stidham was starting in Foxborough, I'd feel very, very uncomfortable. They're starting at home. That's a big difference, and I really hope people hone in on that. Like too often, when we get a scenario like this of a quarterback in his start, it's more often sometimes on the road, not necessarily at home. And this is at home, and that's a big deal. And then you add the layers of they're overdogs again. They're going to be disrespected at home in their home building, whether Bo Nix is on that roster or not. That has been a very big disrespectful factor for them all season long. And so that's going to be a big driving factor. And then you add in the other factor where reinforcements are coming. J.K. Dobbins is possibly coming. Maybe Luke Wattenberg is coming. So I think, yeah, it was a gut punch to get the unfortunate news of Bo Nix's injury. But I think it was almost needed for that kind of news for J.K. Dobbins to come out to reinforce for the fans to be like, guess what? We still got this. We got reinforcements coming. And so I think that for Jarrett Stidham, if he can just come in there and just manage the offense, that is first and foremost. I mean, I'm not going to hear and say that the offense is going to be more consistent, because that, for me at least, might actually imply that the offense is going to be better under Jarrett Stidham. And that's not the case. I don't think it's I just think it's be relatively the same, which is I would just basically say that if J.K. Dobbins is coming back, I would very much be in favor of a running back by committee approach with Dobbins, as just share the workload, maybe what we kind of expect at the beginning of the season. And then you start feeding your tight ends. Maybe you see a little bit more Evan Ingram. Maybe you do see a little bit more of some Adam Troutman. You see a little bit more bootlegs at times. Get him out of the pocket. He is a mobile quarterback, but he is certainly not Bo Nix. And you touched on that, Mike, in the group chat, and that is frankly the number one talking point for maybe the point of what's going to be the biggest drop-off between Nix and Jarrett Stidham, and that is unfortunately the sack element. But also, this is Sean Payton we're talking about. He's going to be putting him in that advantageous situations of throws, opportunities, windows, that he can be able to hit nice, easy throws, which we know, being in 3 years in that system, he should be able to operate.
Yeah, and there's a lot to unpack here. I'm glad that you pivoted it back to the original point of, can this offense be more consistent with Jarrett Stidham? I'm not going to say it will, because this offense has found consistency under Bo Nix basically since the first Chiefs game. This offense has been in rhythm. There haven't been a whole lot of points of stagnation, and if there have been, they haven't really been Bo Nix's fault. It's been drops or the inability to run the football. Those are obviously things you're still worried about coming up in this game. Getting Dobbins back potentially is going to be huge in terms of being able to consistently run the football. But I do think that Jarrett Stidham is going to do a good job of keeping this offense ahead of the chains. The drop-off is going to be a lot less drastic than it maybe would have been at another point in the season. I think that Jarrett Stidham is going to be able to keep the offense in rhythm with some of the short and intermediate passes, dump it off to Evan Ingram. We saw a big-time connection in training camp in the preseason between Jarrett Stidham and Evan Ingram. He likes to be a little bit more conservative and safe in the passing game, whereas Bo Nix, he's looking for that big play downfield, and if it's not there, that's when we see him check the football down or get it to his guys underneath. So that's where I think Jarrett Stidham is going to excel. It's going to ultimately come down to, can Denver run the football, and can these receivers step up, because we're probably not going to have Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin this week. I'm leaning a little bit more towards getting Franklin back than Bryant, but we'll see how that situation shakes itself out throughout the week. They brought back Brandon Johnson. They've got 3 other guys on the practice squad: Elijah Moore, who everybody's wanted to see, A.T. Perry, who everybody's wanted to see, and then Michael Bandy, who at times we've seen too much of, but then he'll step up and catch a touchdown out of nowhere. So you never know, man. Hi, kitty. It's going to be all on this entire offense to collectively step up, not just Jarrett Stidham. Stiddy doesn't need to go out there and be Bo Nix. He just needs to go out there and be Stiddy.
Right. And to Gage's,
sorry,
go ahead, Mike.
I do want to clarify when I say consistent, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
moving the chains, like 3 yards on a play, 3 yards on a play, and just keep moving it instead of going after those big chunks.
That's why
I meant by consistent.
So
And
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, the impression is that this guy just got brought into the building and that he has no history with any of these people. Hasn't been, practicing, hasn't been in the meetings. Isn't Bo's best friend and is attached at the hip. This guy's there. And I think we also, Gage made a very good point about the running the ball is going to be very important for us. And that was one thing that Houston really failed. I mean, on top of CJ Stroud, just ruining his opportunity at a major contract, I think. Woody Marks at one point had like 15 rushes or 12 rushes, and it was like 0.3 yards per rush. Like we got our hands full with that Patriot defense if we can do the running. But I also want to make this other point is that our team, we still have our defense. Like we lost our quarterback. We lost Bo. We did not lose his top 2 defense. I just am so like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's better that they just think that, the Patriots are now coming in on Saturday. I don't know if you guys saw that, which to me I thought was a little weird. Maybe they think that it's going to be an easy game and they don't need to spend more time in the state. I have no idea. Yeah. I just don't think that it's going to be what people believe that it's going to be.
Well, and I do want to talk a little bit about how close Stidham and Bo are. I mean, every single game, every practice, Stidham is headphones on, microphone on, talking to Bo, running through stuff, going through everything. When Bo went to the locker room after he had the X-ray or MRI, whatever he had, do you know who the first person was that greeted him? Stiddy.
Yep.
All the rest of the players went and saw him. His wife went back there. The coaches were back there. They even took a picture of it where he's still in his pads on the floor in a corner, and he's just surrounded by everybody in the building. Everybody loves Bo Nix, but everybody loves Stidham.
But this goes back to the biggest credit of it all. And, maybe that kind of leads us to the game a little bit more. But kudos to Sean Payton. He gets a lot of hate. He gets a lot of hate sometimes by the national media. But he's adopted, strictly when it has been this Denver Broncos team, and frankly, even the Saints teams in the past, he has adopted this mentality of team above self. And I thought one of the biggest things that they ever did, for anybody that does not know or has not been to a Denver Broncos game, more often than not, they do introductions for the offense or they do introductions for the defense. They did not do that for this game against the Bills. Sean made it a precedent to put team above self. And if people in this chat and everything have been following this Denver Broncos team from the moment Sean has gotten here, that has been his number one thing, has been team above self. And that quarterback room and everything that it has been representing is the model for everything that this team has been. So, and that is one of the reasons why they are rallying around this idea of this one's for Bo, but also they're rallying around this idea that Jarrett Stidham can come in and win this football game for us. So they are even Bronco fans, obviously. I have myself included linking a Twitter account of Jarrett Stidham's profile picture, and I'm not the only one. Every single member in Broncos country is doing the exact same thing because we are rallying around Stidham as quarterback. It's who Sean Payton has clearly bought into this team as a team mentality, and everything has just gone, the same way ever since.
So let's talk. Go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on what I just put in the chat there, because
I thought that was Bill at first. I was like, listen, Bill, you can't call for Stiddy and then question. But
it didn't say Chargers fan syndicate, though. Mike.
I know.
We actually do have a Chargers syndicate, by the way. But no, it's like, yeah, Stiddy can maybe throw
Bill's
it
on the
5
top
yards further than Bo Nix can, but I don't know if he can fit those same throws into tight windows like Bo has been able to really these past several weeks. So that's the big question here. I know that Stiddy's going to be able to efficiently operate this offense. He's been in it for 3 years. He knows the protections. He knows the route concepts. He knows where his checkdowns are going to be. But can he make those same big boy, quite frankly, fuck you throws that Bo Nix can make?
Right.
That's fun. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Bills game and the Broncos game. And then we'll go into the Patriots and what we're looking forward to in that. But to kind of wrap everything up and close everything on that, the Broncos are very, very good at getting opposing teams' coaches fired. That's just how it goes. Like, this is what, third time this season that a coach has gotten fired after they played us. So watch out, Vrabel.
I think the streak ends this week, though. I think Vrabel is safe.
Maybe Josh McDaniel, though. Maybe he'll get fired.
Who knows?
He's safe too, dude.
Yeah.
God,
He and May are like this.
McDaniel's fired.
I definitely was concerned coming off of the bye, just because of how they looked after the last bye in the season. But I thought they looked really good. I thought the offense, maybe not the running game as much. McLaughlin did get the start, which was great to see. But I think they ended up with 75 yards running in the game.
That was all Bo for the most part.
Yeah, and most of it was Bo.
Not great, Bob.
No, and J.K. Dobbins will help if he comes back. But as far as like the passing game goes, even without Troy Franklin and even without Pat Bryant, I thought we looked pretty good.
Yeah. There's a lot of takeaways in this game. And I actually think it was Sean saying screw you to the NFL in terms of, once again, I have my quarterback. We're going up against the number one pass defense. I'm going to show you who this quarterback really is. And yeah, that's what happened. I don't think this had anything to do with them wanting to commit to a running game. I mean, obviously, he had been wanting to utilize his legs on certain plays, but it was the biggest screw you game, for Sean and why he drafted Bo Nix. That's what I'm convinced about. The more I'm kind of thinking about that game and everything, the way that it unfolded, yeah, they didn't run the ball necessarily as well, but Sean Payton made it a priority to prove to the rest of the NFL that they have a quarterback in Denver, and Bo Nix made it happen. Game, play, match till the very end, matching every single play, every single moment of the reigning MVP. He made it count when it mattered most. So if you doubt him now, I sure as heck hope you doubt him later, because you don't deserve to be a Bo Nix fan at that point. And after watching that game, because he did everything possible to solidify himself as a franchise quarterback officially after that game. That was his moment. That was his drive. And frankly, all of Broncos country should be very elated that moment happened. And I'm just even blessed to even be at that game and stay for as long as I did in that overtime.
Imagine if you had told the national media pregame that one of these quarterbacks would have like 5 big-time elite special beautiful throws, and then one of these quarterbacks would have 4 turnovers. Could you imagine?
Wonder who they would have been.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been insane. It would have been fuel for guys like Nick Wright and fucking Benjamin Solak, all those clowns. So the fact of the matter is, man, Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback who outplayed Josh Allen in that game, and very decisively.
Mm-hmm.
And to Allen's credit, not necessarily for this game, but just in general, like the amount of pressure that literally everything is on his shoulders, and that's why I'm so surprised that Brandon Beane got promoted and McDermott got axed, and not both of them. I mean, I heard that since Allen was drafted, that the only there have been 2 Pro Bowl offensive players, and it was Cook, and it was Dawson Knox. This guy has no weapons. They listed the receivers that they'd signed, and it was interesting. I mean, some of them that stood out were like the Elijah Moores, the KJ Hamlers, the Jalen Virgils. Like, these are the weapons that you're giving Josh Allen at his peak, but that played into our hands, and there's no reason to believe that this defense is not going to do the same thing or not going to operate the same way this coming weekend. They're listening to these pundits saying that there's no chance. they want to win for Bo. I think that their effort level is going to be even higher than it's been.
Yeah.
I think this is Bill's burner account right here. Being a Broncos fan, I don't have faith in our backup quarterback. I think our playoffs are over. That
Hey,
sucks. Why would you want to think that is my question?
no,
Like, not so much like going against what you think, because everybody's got their own opinions, but why would you want to think that?
yeah. I mean, but and that's one of that comment right there really brings it in for me as far as I pray. I was hoping to end the show with this, but I pray that Bronco fans continue to relish into the fact of how great this season has been, right? Like how great this season has been.
Look how fast he couldn't type fast enough to.
He's like, "Whoa, I'm not Bill. Whoa,
you can call me a lot of things. Just don't
call me Bill."
But no, like I hope that Bronco fans really relish in the fact of how good this season really has been. You know, like because like they advanced to the AFC Championship game. Yeah, Bo Nix is not going to probably start in that game, right? But like the fact is that they advanced to the AFC Championship game. They've already clearly they've clearly proved themselves that they are the number one seed for a reason. You know, so just chalk it up for the fact that, man, we have already surpassed expectations. And we're already at the AFC Championship game. We might as well win another one to go to the Super Bowl.
Might as well win 2 more.
Yeah. Shavargas 1535. How do you feel about Stiddy starting this Sunday? I'll kind of sum it up. Watch and be prepared to be amazed. That's how we feel.
And because it's a Stiddy city, and we'll be holding a Stiddy party.
Yeah, this is definitely Bill right there.
Totally Bill, man. Come on.
Definitely Bill.
You know what? You know how I know it's not Bill? There's no chance he knows what a burner account is.
Yeah, that's true. He also wouldn't know how to do an X and a D for a winky face.
True.
So one of the other things that I was surprised with, looking on the other side of the ball, Denver has had a tough time getting turnovers on defense. We get 5 in this game. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the defense was amazing the entire game, but they were amazing at the points where it mattered, right? They were able to get those turnovers when we needed the turnovers. They were able to get the stops when we needed the stops. Was anybody going to stop James Cook? No. James Cook is going to get his yards. That's why he's a leading rusher in the NFL. But they stopped him when they needed to.
They did get the turnovers. I will give them credit there, but the net yardage they gave up in that game was concerning.
Right.
Especially because of the way that the Patriots can move the football. If they're on, man, they can move the football about as well as every other offense in the NFL. I'd say that Drake May is already a top 5 deep ball thrower in the NFL. So that does give me some cause for concern. The way that Josh Allen was kind of able to light up that secondary, the way that he was able to make multiple plays with his legs, and then the lack of run defense at several points in the game, man, that's a problem. So we can sit here and be happy about the turnovers, which I definitely am. Don't get me wrong. Nick Bonito was a monster out there. Jaquan McMillan, obviously, he's a ball hawk, and he's going to get the turnovers in the most critical situations. And then the James Cook fumble, that was also nice. Getting those turnovers is going to be huge. I'm not saying those aren't important, but we've got to make sure that we're not giving up a metric crap ton of yards between getting these turnovers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot to process, of course, you know, with that game. And I think that, you know, when we talk about when we do talk about the Patriots game and then we talk about the Bills game, I think my biggest takeaway was, and frankly, I liked it from the measuring stick standpoint, right? Like we talked about that last week, like that I thought Buffalo was a great measuring stick of where things were last year to where they are now. But it is still evident that the biggest takeaway for them was that Buffalo probably still at that point, and even probably in the AFC, probably ended up still being their worst possible matchup of anybody that was that draw. And it solely and solely the reasoning for that was It was the trenches. The trenches were the biggest part of that entire game, with how just outmanned they really were. Malcolm Roach had some really nice moments. Nick Bonito had some really nice moments. You got to give at least some due on some of those plays and creating turnovers. But still, they were being dog walked up and down the field every single time. And there was only one saving grace. There was only one saving grace for that defense, and it was turnovers. And you have to at least give them credit for that, just simply because they really weren't getting turnovers. They weren't getting turnovers at all. In the
I saw it.
In the regular
for that
season.
belt to ass. Oh boy!
Mike usually pays a few bucks for that, but
usually I'll go anywhere from like 2 to 12. It depends on how hard they hit.
$12.
2 to 12, and the kind of belt. It's got to have that nice snap, or it just isn't worth it.
I'm just dying over here.
But no,
Mike's like, you know what? Maybe I'll go up to 15.
Yeah, maybe 15. It depends. I will say though, I think that, and I said on last week's show that I think the Malcolm Roach was going to be a big key in the defense figuring out against the Bills. Had a big game, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaquan McMillan again. Like those are my two players of the game. I would love to put an offensive player as player of the game. I just don't have one. Bo. I mean that's the easy answer. But
you're not going to put Marvin Mims in there?
I don't know, because
you
can make a case for little Jordan Humphrey though too.
Not compared to Mims.
You better put Mims
Little
in
Jordan
there.
Actually dropped a pass like in the end zone. Initially, he redeemed him. That was called redemption, Mike. But if you remember last week, I believe I said Marvin Mims was my breakthrough player of the game. But anyway, that's beside the point.
He digresses. Yeah, that's right. No, but like that's the one thing I will say that I thought was so funny as the game was unfolding was
Crumb, play the game, Crumb. What I thought was so funny was the Bills went into this game with no wide receivers, like literally 2 wide receivers. And when you look at little Debbie's,
but he also has crumbs on there. So in honor of Frank,
I got crumbs all over the place.
but
literally and figuratively.
So what I was gonna say is that like when you look at like the Broncos offense and how it finished literally exactly the way the Bills offense did, which made it almost impressive with what the Broncos were doing. But no, Marvin Mims deserves so much of some love on this one, because we have been preaching from the rooftops about certain players that need to be used from day one. And I think if there's one thing I will say, and it gives a lot of credence, I think, to the idea that maybe Sean was holding plays back or holding certain players back or running a certain vanilla offense after the bye week when it comes to the Chargers and it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems very evident he was holding plays back. He was holding players back, because at the beginning part of that game, and you feature Pat Bryant, you might want to start notifying that next year in terms of some of those players that you might want to circle that's going to be a key part of your offense. Marvin Mims, in key playoff moments, they were down 2 wide receivers, but you might want to circle that one down, because they featured Marvin Mims, and Mims was electric. He was everything that I would have expected, because my comparison for him had always been Percy Harvin, and they used him exactly the way that Percy Harvin was, and he was electric. So much so that he was so good, they took him off the kickoff returns for a certain point.
Which I think they should do moving forward because of all the injuries at wide receiver.
Yeah, I was going to say, you almost have to, because if you don't have Pat Bryant, you don't have Troy Franklin. Marvin Mims would be the obvious choice to take those reps, right?
Well, if you remember,
Trump is getting some more.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, opening kickoff, Mims gets hit. He's down. The Bill is down. Mims is in the blue tent. I'm thinking this guy's got a concussion on the opening kickoff. And then Pat Bryant catches 3 passes on the first drive. And on that third reception on the tackle, he gets a concussion. So fortunately, we were able to get Marvin back because the guy was just money. But that's to Gage's point, and you mentioned in his video today, is that this guy needs to be taken completely off the kickoff team because we just cannot take that risk. We don't have enough wide receivers on the active roster if we just keep losing these guys.
Yeah, and do we know if there's any lingering effects from that camera shot that Mims took to the back?
He came back.
He got like a stand or something. I'm assuming it was a bruise or something. Not anything big.
The most important part of that is he came back in the game. So, yeah.
Yes, Bill is still trolling.
He is.
Now, okay, so the Frank Crum touchdown. Didn't they do the exact same play on the other side with Bowles?
I believe they did, yeah.
It's the same thing, wasn't it?
It was similar.
Maybe it wasn't as like deep as Bowles was on his route, but yeah, it was roughly the same. It was Frank Dan Skipper Crum.
It was beautiful, man. And Frank Crum's right up there with Dan Skipper in terms of like height and just being that big quarterback friendly target, man. And he even had to dive for it, and he was able to get his way in there. That was awesome.
Well, I think we all expected a Wyoming Cowboy big guy would get that first touchdown. We were right.
That would be good.
But
imagine if there was a ticket out there somewhere for Frank Crum first touchdown.
I know, right?
Oh, it'd be worth a fortune.
Oh, man.
Did you see the video where they put the Titanic music?
Yes!
As he's
that was lifting him up. That was great.
It was amazing.
Oh,
man.
Oh, my God.
Do you guys think we won the game fair, or the pass interference has something to do with us winning? That was probably the 5 turnovers by the Bills. That's probably what did it.
But to answer the question, we won fair and square.
And again,
honestly, the 2 PIs at the end were both good.
Yeah,
and even the first one was, if you think that was questionable, we declined a 15-yard penalty where Bosa hit Bo Nix late. A roughing the passer penalty. There were 2 defensive infractions on that play. We opted to take the pass interference, which was a 17-yard gain versus a 15-yard gain. So if we want a bellyache about that being, put that away, we still would have moved up 15 yards.
Yeah.
And again, Tre'Davious arms were completely engulfing Mims. I mean, it was so obvious. And they were really, they were gunning for that. And Bo threw that beautiful pass with a broken ankle. I mean, that's another point to make that was still.
Well, and I will say, and there's
that was before, wasn't it?
I thought it was on that scramble right before the kneel down.
No, I think it was the scramble right before the pass to Mims. Am I wrong on that?
You're taking when he was hurt?
Yeah, so he scrambled, he got hurt. Then they launched it up to Mims to get the pass interference call. He then comes in and takes that knee in order to get the ball in the center field to kick the field goal. And when he's coming off there, that's when you could kind of see a bit of a limp. And he went and kind of told the coaches something was wrong.
It was that
you could see after that scramble before he launched it to Mims, he got up and was kind of moving his foot weird, looking down at it. So it was the one before he launched it to Mims.
It was that really famous run that Sean did for him in the season, which is, he takes and he just runs to the left-hand side or right-hand side or whatever. And he ran left. And then the defender, I don't know whether it was dirty or not, but it was just an interesting tackle. He grabbed his knee and then did kind of this like one little thing, with his hands or whatever, as he was grabbing him down. And then, but
I don't know.
I will say though.
Well, we're surprised they didn't call it.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was pass interference.
I think it's just because we're surprised because he's called all the time.
Well, he's surprised when he's not called. All right, let me ask you guys.
Contact.
All right, so McMillan is going to get big money, and Riley Moss is due for an extension soon too. I would much rather have McMillan than Riley Moss. Moss is he plays a panicked game. I've tried to be supportive of him, but that play in particular was so risky. And the fact that he's just always looking around, like to make sure that he didn't, I think I think he's is on his way to becoming a more serious liability, and I do worry about them going after him with a steady stream this weekend.
Yeah, but obviously, in fairness to him, he's been having so many pass interference calls. I actually don't blame him looking around as much as he does. But I will say, yeah. I mean, we've said it before. If there is certain things that he probably needs to be working on, it's that he still needs to be less grabby. But the last half of the season, if we're keeping it a buck, the last half of the season, he has been very less grabby. And in doing so, his coverage is still maintained the same. His tackling has also gotten better post that Jacksonville Jaguars game. So like it's I still think it's could be a question that he'll be targeted a little bit more. The part I think with J-Mac is going to be interesting is he's a restricted free agent, and we know, and this is obviously a free agency conversation, but we know when it comes to restricted free agents, that's going to require a cut sheet, right? When teams kind of belly up and offer a contract, an expected contract for a player, and then it's up to the Broncos if they want to match that. And I would imagine, I would hope that the Broncos can get to that point and maybe match that, or maybe it doesn't even get to that point. Because I think that my hot take is the Johnny Barron pick definitely motivated him, but I don't think that the Barron play and what he actually gives the Broncos is not predicated on, him actually being a nickel. I think Barron has so much versatility, it's not even going to matter whether or not they extend Jaquan McMillan or not. So I think McMillan is still a pretty big priority for that team to try and lock up anyway.
Has there been any news on how the surgeon went today on Bo Nix? Can't find it. Last I heard was a tweet from Bo, and he said everything went good, didn't he?
That was a tweet from 2021.
Okay, never mind then. I don't read that far.
I was watching the local news, and they were saying there was nothing yet as of about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, there was a tweet in 2021. Actually, so I found that out, right? Like, this was his third ankle surgery, and it's the same ankle that he injured at Auburn.
Yep. I didn't know he had one in high school, too. Sean Payton revealed that in the press conference. I knew he had the one at Auburn, but yeah, man, just kind of goes to show that sometimes this stuff happens, and Bo's bounced back great from the previous two, so I don't see any reason why he's not going to bounce back great from this one.
And how great was Sean Payton in the second press conference that he gave the other night when he came back, delivered this news, cracked a couple one-liners. He had to have been just absolutely stunned what was happening, because we were, and he's the guy, right? So he handled that so well, and then just giving Stiddy the watch us, just watch, I loved how it ended. Kudos to our coach, great leader in that situation, and I still can't believe the euphoria then turned into such news like that. But as it settled in, we're all is not lost. We're in good hands. I really believe it.
So Twitch Sweat says, bro, I saw Pat's broadcast and they're talking shit about us, Jarrett Stidham and Dobbins and Sutton. Same thing that Glenn was talking about earlier. And Glenn's out in the Boston Patriots fandom kind of area. This is going to be Glenn at work all week.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
just all week. Glenn's just had enough.
Oh, dude.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, I might go full uniform on Friday. I might do it.
Steve, now you got to do the uniform right. You got to make sure it's Steve Watson, and then you got to make sure you got to get the pants. You got to get the pants right.
I have the pants, dude. I have the pants.
Yep. And I just go and pull up that thing on Diggs on PS2. I don't necessarily know about that. I think they might put Diggs on Booty, because Booty's been the more reliable receiving threat these last few weeks.
PS2 on Booty.
I'm sorry, yeah, put PS2 on Booty, Diggs on Booty, Jesus Christ. No, we don't have Trayvon Diggs here, folks, so we can't do that.
You can dig out a Booty all you want. That's your call. What you do in your private time is up to you, sir.
Damn it, Mike. But no, PS2 on booty. Yes, I think we could definitely see that. And then do some sort of bracket coverage where you've got a double team on Stephon Diggs. That's how they approached it with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens in the Cowboys game. I could very easily see that. Plus, you've got to worry about those tight ends, man. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, they can also make your life hell. So I would not be surprised at all if the Broncos took a little bit of a non-traditional approach in covering this Patriots weaponry core.
And if they double team Booty, the FCC might get involved.
Jesus.
So I will say this, the one part that actually has me a bit glad, if you will, for the Broncos in this matchup is the only part that really was the biggest story of this game was the trenches, right, with the Buffalo Bills game. But the part that I think is so different is the Patriots offensive line is not the same offensive line as the Buffalo Bills, right? Like it's a little bit of a different offensive line. The part that is going to be interesting is the skill positions are roughly the same as Buffalo, minus the James Cook element. You have 2 tight ends to worry about. You have obviously some wide receivers and everything. It's basically Stephon Diggs and maybe Booty at this point, but it's just like the playmakers are going to be somewhat the same. It's just how do they do it? And I think that the part where the Broncos can really feast on that is really feasting on that offensive line, and I think that if they can be able to really get after May and create a lot of havoc, you're going to see a really long afternoon. And the fact that May's last 2 starts in the playoffs, I'm going to keep it blunt here. He has regressed. He has not played like an MVP. He has been trash. He has not been good. He has played Houston. They won. They scored 28 points. You want to know why they scored 28 points? Was because of all those turnovers and the field position and everything. That's the only reason they scored 28 points.
4 times.
And he even coughed it up 4 times too. He has not played like an MVP. He sucks. Nix has been the better quarterback in the playoffs. Frankly, he has not been an MVP this year. It has been Matt Stafford. I am sick and tired of hearing about this Drake May conversation about he is the best quarterback in the National Football League, because if you want to be the best quarterback in the National Football League in your second year, maybe play like it in the playoffs.
You forgot to pound the table like
So angry.
Ryan Kelly.
I love
I'm doing this for Buffalo, damn it. Hey, wait, did I just get fired the next day? What?
He did. And that was
best, man.
That was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Was you look at the Texans and you look at the Pats game, right? As we're watching to see who we're going to play. I mean, yeah, the Texans have a really, really, really good defense, but they also don't have a great offense. Like you look at and I think I said in the group chat, the Patriots have a very balanced team. The problem is I don't think the Patriots have as good a team as the Broncos.
They don't.
I don't think the Texans had as good a team as the Broncos. Because you look at that offense, you look at the turnovers, you look at the stupid mistakes, made the Patriots defense look better than it is.
People aren't ready to hear this. The Broncos are the best team that's left, not just in the AFC, but all around. The Broncos are the best team that is left, and that includes Seattle.
And for Gage, let me just say, I mean, anyone that follows Gage knows that he's not adverse to being critical of the Broncos where need be. So he's not a hot take artist. So that says something right there.
Yeah, I'm serious, man. Like, I don't think there's anybody out there that can beat the Broncos in these playoffs.
Patriots do have a solid pass rush, but we've got a great line. We've got 2 first-team All-Pro linemen.
Yeah, well, and you look specifically at the first 2 games that the Patriots played, they were trash offensive linemen that they faced. Houston's offensive line, for as good as they talk about trenches, for as good as they want to talk about trenches down there in good old Houston, Texas, they suck. And the Patriots feasted on them. And granted, CJ Stroud was very much trashed in that game as well. Well, you know what? The Patriots are going to in this game? A game that Patriots fans themselves in the middle part of the season was very worried about. Going to Denver and facing an offensive lineman that is the best offensive line that they probably will be facing all year. And yeah, they're with the backup quarterback. They're facing a backup quarterback. But you know what? That's also fitting because they've had such a lame schedule anyway. So this is probably just anything for them. So this is just, I guess, just food for them, if you will. But no, they're playing a team that is better than them in nearly every single category except for quarterback. They suck. The Denver Broncos are going to be beating them by a touchdown, maybe even 10 points. I am sick and tired of this, but I will say on the good side of this, the Broncos versus the Patriots is good for the NFL. I'm glad we have it back, but they're still going to be, beating the Patriots by probably 10 points.
Well, and you want to know how many times the Patriots have won in Denver in the playoffs? That would be a big fat 0, baby. They have not done it. Nobody wants to come here and play in the playoffs, man.
I'm just trying to match this. Turn this way.
Huge. It's huge.
Right there. Well, and I
this crowd's going to be great. They're going to be the greatest crowd of all time.
They're
They're going to be great.
It's going to be huge.
We as Bronco fans, we are not allowing the New England Patriots to come to this game. So we're going to build a wall. We're going to build a wall.
Gage, I don't know if you were watching any of that, but you were frozen like this.
I just walked in here and we're going full Donald Trump.
You were frozen like
This is how
this.
you were frozen.
It's funny.
I can go down a rabbit hole here, so
Oh my God, I just looked like Adam Ray there.
Because I could go on with that one.
You guys heard about that, right? Like the Broncos are shutting out all like the New Englanders and Bostonians.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So they're building
But we're
a
not the
wall.
first to do that. That happens every year.
I know.
Like, that's what.
Well, and I did want to make the point, like you go back and we talk about Jarrett Stidham and the backup and Bo Nix and blah, blah, blah. If you look at Jarrett Stidham, he is good enough to start for at least 15 teams just this season, right? Like he is a starter on different teams.
Yeah, he's a serviceable starter, and that's everything we're coming back to, and to everything that Glenn was talking about, like they're making it seem like he's this first time starter with Sean Payton, like and everything. And I will say, it's like, do you guys not do any research? To quote Kirk Signetti, just Google the fact that Jarrett Stidham has been, with the Denver Broncos for 3 years. And much like, even Sam Ehlinger, he easily could have left for another job. You know what Jarrett Stidham did? He didn't leave for another job. He wanted to stay here, right? Like he wanted to stay here. And right now he's going to be rewarded with the opportunity of his life at home. And we probably should need to just say that again, is that this game simply being at home is going to be as much of a lift for Jarrett Stidham as much as it is going to be that rest of the team. The fact that they are home is going to mean such a great deal for this. And I hope that the fans really give Jarrett all that support. Now, I hope that for the game's sake, the fans don't, if something doesn't go their way, if you will, in the first couple minutes, that they don't sour and kind of sit back and, be quiet and everything. No, this is a playoff game. Like, let's continue to really be invested in this game, be invested in Jarrett Stidham, because like there's opportunities where they can still win this game because of that home crowd.
Do you think any of the 76,000 fans that are going to be there that are wearing orange and blue are going to be discouraged and down in the dumps, or do you think they're going to scream their asses off?
Exactly.
Well,
I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And as far as I think Dylan was asking
10 years, Dylan.
Literally 10 years.
Was asking about the uniforms, right? I don't know.
There is some speculation. There is some speculation we might be wearing throwbacks, and shout out to Patrick Chiotti who pointed that out. But like, there's.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
Yeah,
that would be sweet.
That'd be so cool.
All right. Keys to the game. What do we need to do to win this game against the Patriots?
I think Gage froze again. Unless he's giving his smoldering look for his modeling pose.
Huge. This frozen piece is huge.
I don't know what he looks like right now.
It's a very serious pose.
He there he is. Welcome back.
I'm back.
He looks stoned, but that would never.
That would never.
I mean, I always am, so nothing new there.
No, I was asking, what are the keys to the game for the Broncos beating the Patriots in the championship game?
I think that there are really very few formulas to win in the playoffs. Basically, there's only one. Run the football, play good defense, be consistent on special teams, and be efficient in the pass game. You do that, you are going to be a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah. And from I agree with all of that. And I think that from the Broncos standpoint, like we said before, when we talked about the Jarrett Stidham conversation, in everything, it's just like, I would just say that this is going to force them to continue their identity. I would actually say it's going to force them to use their identity even more, which is everything off of that running game. If they can use that running game, you will see those same bootlegs, those same play actions, those same opportunities that are going to be created for guys like a Courtland Sutton, who we haven't even talked about. Courtland Sutton, he had a really quiet game, but when it mattered in overtime in that fourth quarter, that's when you want your best players to rise to the occasion, and he did exactly that. And I think the other thing that I would also want to add is there's probably a key element that needs to be addressed here with this Broncos team, and specific to this playoff run is, yeah, the defense kind of had a lot of its moments there on Sunday against the Bills, but it's really important we talk about role players that were really criticized by a lot of people in Broncos country, and they had really key moments in this game that really need to be recognized. Little Jordan Humphrey, drop touchdown pass, redeems himself and gets a touchdown pass. Alex Singleton, the number one liability on the Broncos defense, according to many people in Broncos country, frankly set the tone for the turnovers in that entire game, and caused that fumble of James Cook. And then PJ Locke, the other person that many people had been doubting, ends up getting the key interception, off of a stalled possession that the Broncos ended up having. He ends up turning to getting an interception off of that. So that's another side of this too. When you look at this Patriots game, is how can some of these other role players continue to step up, knowing the fact that despite the fact that Gage is frozen again, that we could. It looked like you were frozen. It looked like you were frozen. I look like you were frozen there for a second.
He's just totally constipated right now.
But no, what I was just gonna say is having the role players really respond is going to be the other extra layer to this, just because of how well they really performed in that Bills game.
I think the biggest key for me is that just Stidham does not don't make mistakes. Just don't let the moment overtake you. I think he's been in this league long enough. I think he's that's not going to be the case, but don't try to force any passes. Just take what they give us, and then the rest should take care of itself. Quite honestly, this defense is going to step up. I expect all his teammates to step up. Nobody wants to lose to this Patriot team. Nobody wants to look like they're a one-man team. It's quite insulting, actually, to the Denver Broncos, who have won 15 games this year, number one seed in the AFC. And for people to think just because one player, even though it's the quarterback, is gone, that all is lost and that this team sucks. It's insulting, and it's just really not true. So just come on, steady. Just be steady. That's it. And I do want to give shout out to DNVR for the citizens of Stiddy City tagline that I have on there, because they came up with that, and I thought that was really good.
Like I say in the bathroom all the time, let it flow. All right.
Let it flow, baby.
So I won't ask
a lot of things.
I won't ask facts. I won't ask the score question, but are we taking the Broncos to beat the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, yes. I already gave my prediction when I went off about 20 minutes ago. I don't. But I should say I don't know if it's going to end up being 10 points. But I do think Denver comes away with this one. It'll be close again. I think it'll be a little bit close again. But I think that Denver does pull away. And we might get another Will Lutz game-winning field goal in this. So
I've been
Listen,
given
if
no
you're-
reason against this team. None.
Yep.
You know, if you go to Lincoln Financial Field, there's a statue of a quarterback outside the stadium, and it's Nick Foles, the backup QB that won the Super Bowl. So there's no reason for me to believe that, like Gage said, there's no reason to doubt this team now. And being at home, I think the Broncos pull this one out and shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, I'm going Denver for the win too. And there's two more things. One is really short, but this is the first time in the history of the MHRT network that we are still talking meaningful Broncos football near the end of January, and it is awesome.
it is, and it's a great feeling for us. It's a great feeling for Broncos content creators. Even for what Gage gets to do over there at Broncos Syndicate, and obviously for what I get to do with mainly Broncos as well. And obviously Mario's show just kicked off here around like 8:00 and everything. But like any content creator, any content creator that like does Bronco stuff, they deserve it too. I mean, like we have been down in the dumps for 10 years, right? And so like the fact that all of us have been grinding as much as we have in these last 10 years, and we've lasted as much as we have, and we're finally at the point where these last 2 years has been some of the most fun we've had in these last 10 years has been great. So we actually get a chance to talk about some meaningful football.
Yep.
But none of them are as good as MHRT Network and Broncos Syndicate. So just throwing that out there. If you want to go to the YouTube pages and hit those likes and thumbs up, do that.
Don't watch that loser Mario, though. He sucks.
Yeah, screw that.
What does he know? He's not connected at all.
Yeah, he had the opportunity to join the network and didn't. So
loser.
But the last thing I want to talk about, and it's just like I've been listening to a lot of Buffalo Bills, not listen to that.
Yeah, because I shut down when he talks.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills podcast because I like punishment. I mean the belt to ass thing, $12. I was listening to a lot of their podcasts because I wanted to see who they were thinking would be a good fit as head coach for the Bills. And I've heard Davis Webb's name multiple times.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. For anybody that does not know, when we actually did the show and Davis Webb was hired, we talked about how Josh Allen specifically enjoyed working with Davis Webb. And, if Brandon Beane had every spine in his body to do the right thing, I would at least want to listen to my quarterback, Josh Allen, and try and do what's right for him. So it would suck certainly to lose Davis Webb, but having the opportunity to coach and be a head coach or possibly even be the offensive coordinator for Josh Allen is incredibly hard to pass up. So and frankly, I would just say probably at the beginning part of the year when we were having that Sean McDermott conversation, I think all of us kind of like said that Davis Webb would be one of those people, if you will, was on kind of like a short list for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. And if you looked, go ahead, Gage. Go ahead. I was going to say, and if you looked at that picture that Izzy Nix posted, the person actually sitting on the ground next to him was Davis Webb. And I believe Buffalo wanted him to be almost like a player coach. Like, he was so organized and had documented everything. He said his fiance called him a hoarder because like he has all his notes from every game and every practice and whatnot. But Gage, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I've heard Joe Brady, their current offensive coordinator, he's heavily in the mix. Brian Dable is one who is definitely in the mix because of the prior relationship with Josh Allen. I would say Davis Webb is probably more so offensive coordinator in the event that Joe Brady gets the head coaching job. He could take over as the play caller. That could make quite a bit of sense there. I've even heard a couple of defensive-minded guys, like Jesse Minter was one. I had heard Robert Saleh, but obviously that one's no longer an option.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm hearing right now. And I think I even heard Jonathan Gannon being tossed around, but I don't know how serious that one is.
Yeah.
We do have. Where did Robert Saleh go?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Man, I still don't like that fit at all.
There's something to monitor. There is something to monitor here, though, and because of the fact that Green Bay lost their defensive coordinator to the Miami Dolphins job, something to monitor might actually be them requesting an interview for hometown hero Jim Leonard to return home and be their defensive coordinator down there in Green Bay. So just something to monitor. I think, like as I said, I think the likelihood of Leonard being back is getting to be less than zero at this point.
People say that we might be getting A.J. Brown. What do you think on that?
No, I doubt that.
thanks.
He doesn't fit what Sean Payton wants to build here. And yeah, it's just not going to happen. They shipped away Jerry Jeudy for peanuts because he's a headache. They don't want to bring in another wide receiver who's a headache.
And he's an overrated douche canoe too.
Yeah,
Well, and it has nothing to do with him as a wide receiver. It's more have something to do with him as being a head case. That's the only reason.
Yeah, maybe he should read on the sideline How to Win Friends and Influence People instead of whatever he is reading.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else that we did not cover?
Mike McDaniel to the Chargers. That just happened before we went live.
Brought that up. Is anybody else not concerned at all?
I'm very concerned about that.
I love Mike McDaniel.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, go ahead again.
No, I'm concerned about it just because that's the best offensive coordinator that Herbert will ever have at this point.
Sure.
And so if Herbert can't make that work, we legitimately have a Justin Herbert conversation on our hands, entering almost year 10 of his career. I think it will be very interesting though, because Mike McDaniel and very clearly Jim Harbaugh are very different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be very interesting to see how that all works, how long it lasts. But yeah, I think just stylistically and in that Shanahan offense, yeah, I'm very curious how that's all going to work out. He loves his running backs, by the way. He loves his running backs. So don't be surprised if Amarian Hampton is not the only running back that gets added to that football team, because we saw that with Devon Achane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I speaking of Herbert, I don't know if I'm the only one that thought of it, but you know, after we found out Bo was out for the season, did anyone else think of Herbert blowing off the post-game interview and here's Bo with a broken ankle and he's standing there answering every question?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did see an interesting tweet, and obviously it's just a funny thing, but they were saying they should make it a rule that if your quarterback gets injured in the playoffs, the team's quarterback that you just beat has to join your team.
That's how that, yeah.
That's funny. I like it.
Josh Allen being a Bronco after all.
He'd be like, what are these things called receivers here? This is crazy.
Sean Payton, an offensive-minded coach. What is this?
Wait, my head coach actually calls my plays?
I know, right?
You know, I will say this. You know, kudos to the people that were understanding and making jokes about the idea of the Broncos adding a quarterback. You know, understanding. That's the key word. Understanding and making jokes of like adding a quarterback like Tom Brady or, you know, Phillip Rivers. But like, it's just the people that were consciously thinking that it's an actual option. Like, that's the one I need to like just really preface here really quick. Y'all are idiots.
Yep.
Like, y'all are legitimate idiots for thinking that Phillip Rivers was an actual option. Cam Newton was an actual option. You know, like, or even
Kaepernick.
Like the fact that even crossed your mind and you were serious about it, frankly, tells me that you are slow in the head. You're not a ball mover, and frankly, you haven't been paying attention at all to the Denver Broncos these last 3 years when it came to Jarrett Stidham. So thank you for doing us a service for telling us how stupid you are.
and you still think John Elway's the GM. Idiot.
Facts.
Swear. All right, so that's going to do it for us. I appreciate every single person that joined us in the chat, and I want to send out heartfelt condolences to the Bills. I know it sucks, and the Bills fans, I know it sucks, but we won, so shut up. Make sure you head on over to the
Heartfelt only goes so far.
Heartfelt goes so far. Once you start talking about interception, shut up and sit down. Make sure you head on over to the MHRT Network YouTube page, hit the like, subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that join button. Also, make sure you head on over to Broncos Syndicate, hosted by Gage Madrid, and do the same. Hit the like, subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that join button with the different options it gives you there. We love the Broncos. We love Broncos country. Make sure that you tune in for the Broncos versus the Patriots on Sunday to decide who goes to the Super Bowl against either the Rams or the Sea Chickens. So that'll be fun to watch too. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We'll see you later. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I may never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame miles.